CollabTalk is a copyright of Collaborative ABA Services, making a difference in children's lives.
Hi everyone, welcome to CollabTalk, a new talk series by Collaborative ABA Services that provides information and resources about autism and of course everything in between. I'm Alicia, the founder of Collaborative ABA Services, and I'm here with some of our amazing team members as always.
I'm Katie, I'm an occupational therapist.
I'm Bree, I'm a board-certified behavior analyst.
I'm Meg, I'm a licensed social worker and registered behavior technician.
So as we know, waiting for ABA therapy can feel overwhelming for families. The need is there, but the support often isn't immediate. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about what families can do during that waiting period. And during this time, families are still able to support their child's growth, also strengthen skills at home, and also prepare for a smoother transition once services begin. Even without formal therapy yet, there are meaningful steps families can take and additional resources available. Please note, as I always have to do our disclaimer, the purpose of this episode is to provide education and information to the community. It is not intended to critique or evaluate any specific individuals, providers, or organizations. So team, let's dive into this wonderful topic. So let's first talk about understanding the waitlist process. So the first topic or the first thing to talk about is why waitlists exist.
Yeah. There's not enough providers. I think that's the tricky thing is that there are many children in the state of Connecticut that need support, and there are only a certain amount of providers that can provide it.
Right.
It's like a one-to-one teacher. There's a teacher shortage and they teach 20 children at once, where an ABA provider, it's one-to-one.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like you said, the high demand. Like I believe, was it Autism Speaks? It used to be 1 in 35 children were diagnosed with autism. Now the rate now went up to 1 in 31. So now the demand is going higher, but also the staffing is increasing gradually, but it's not meeting that demand.
It's not enough, yeah.
Another thing to think about too is also insurances and approvals. So for example, you also got to look at the difference between state insurance or Medicaid and private insurance, and you got to think about with the insurance approvals or the requirements to receive ABA therapy. As we know, they have to have a medical diagnosis of autism. So if the child doesn't have a medical diagnosis, they have to get one, and they might be on another wait list waiting for a medical diagnosis of autism to then be on another wait list.
Right.
So now they're waiting even longer. Is huge.
Yeah.
So I think that's also something, and also looking at when we're looking in the insurance world, the approvals, but also their network of providers that are in network. Because there's already a shortage of ABA providers, every ABA provider may not necessarily be in network with all different insurance companies.
Smaller.
Yeah. So that could also contribute to why these wait lists exist.
Mm-hmm. I was also going to say, I also think that it's a very positive thing for our field, but the outlook and what people now think of ABA, they are really starting to understand the benefits and how great it really is and how much it can help a child. So I think that's the other thing. Maybe there used to be some controversies, and they're still out there, but I think that there's more accurate information now about ABA, which is really kind of convincing people to come give it a try.
And because ABA is not just for autism, right? So the field of ABA might be large, but not everyone concentrates on just autism.
Right.
And I think too, what you mentioned, we know that ABA benefits everyone, but again, it kind of narrows it. The insurance companies kind of narrow it down because the requirement for ABA therapy, unfortunately, is that autism diagnosis.
Right.
But as we know, ABA does benefit other populations as well. So what can some families expect during the waiting period?
I think that the process takes a bit. I think if you're, unfortunately, some families are well, how long will I be on the wait list? Unfortunately, if your current, clinic is not available or doesn't have the space, you're waiting for a client to transition out. And unfortunately, I don't know when some kids are going to graduate from their program. I'm not sure when somebody's going to get discharged. So I think that's always a really challenging thing. We're not putting you on the wait list just because we want to. We're putting you on the wait list because we don't have enough providers. And I also think it's good if you have a clinic that says, okay, we're going to put you on a wait list versus, oh, we'll take you in and we'll evaluate you and then we'll kind of just wait until we have staff, because that also feels really crummy as well.
It does.
That's a valid point. Definitely, when you're waiting for services, also understanding that also there's also other resources available while you're waiting.
Yep.
And so like some things to also consider, like if your child has issues or deficits with feeding or sensory issues, or there's that limitations with communication, during that time while you are on the wait list waiting for services, it's okay to seek out additional supportive services like speech therapy, occupational therapy.
Social skills.
And, and social skills. And also it's okay to be on more than one wait list at a time.
Right.
So it's kind of like you are not putting all your eggs in one basket. You are working or looking for resources across multiple providers, and the worst thing that could happen is, hey, one provider has availability sooner and you get in sooner.
Yeah. And definitely from what Alicia said, based on the sensory stuff, if you have a child that has significant sensory needs, getting OT first can actually be really, really beneficial, because the more regulated and calmer they are, the more available they are for ABA.
Absolutely.
I was thinking too, like we always talk about the community, get into the community, find like social groups kind of that helps with like networking with parents too. Like, oh, is your child receiving ABA? Oh, they are. I haven't heard of that company. Let me reach out to them. And while their children have those social opportunities to play with other kids and build those social skills in the meantime too.
And I think just getting other services, right? So maybe you're on a wait list for ABA, what it may be, but there might be another speech facility that was able to take you sooner. So maybe you're getting at least speech and OT while you're waiting for ABA or whatever it may be.
Absolutely. And some things that families can do while they're waiting for services is, the first thing I could think of is building routines at home. It's huge, as we know. Importance of consistent daily schedules, not only for children on the spectrum, but I think it's for any child.
Yeah.
Yes.
Consistency is key. Other routines or other strategies for in-home, I would also say, is like using visual supports, like those schedules, first in boards, those timers are amazing. As far as like teaching them when items or things in their schedule are available. And it also helps relieve some of the anxieties about not knowing what's happening in the future.
And I think this is one of the things where social media can have a really positive effect, because there are many, many people out there that have, like, I know there's a woman I follow, she's like, I think she's called like ABA Check or something, and she has all these really cool strategies. There's, autism support groups and things like that. So I do think that there is a lot of wealth of information for families to implement while they're waiting.
And just double check that they're like a licensed professional, because of course there's always like the disclaimer we give, just make sure you're getting the good information.
Absolutely. Any other supports or strategies for helping families build routines at home that you guys can think of?
Lots of visuals, simple language, especially if there is a language deficit or barrier, like using really simple things instead of like, oh, come over here and let's brush our teeth. Like, instead of first brush teeth, then we're leaving, or first brush teeth, then a show, whatever it may be. Keeping it super simple for them.
Yeah, super simple and less is better. I always say, if you use too many words, a child may shut down because they get overwhelmed, and then you start sounding like Charlie Brown's mom. Wah, 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 and they're like, what is she saying? So that's huge. Another area to think about is fostering communication while you're on the wait list or waiting. So we do want to encourage speech through the child's method of communication, whether it be gestures. It can be they have an AAC device, or pictures. It's huge, because communication is really big, and we know that behavior and communication kind of go hand in hand. Any other ways that parents or caregivers can encourage communication while they're waiting?
I think if your child likes videos, there are some really good ones out there. I know a lot of families have mentioned, like, I don't know if Miss Rachel is still popular, but there are some really good videos out there that foster a lot of developmentally appropriate language. So if your child likes to watch videos, trying to gear them towards those things can be helpful.
And also modeling language for them as well. And kind of goes back to Bree, what you said about using simple, clear instructions, like first and then language. So another strategy for parents or caregivers is also, while they're waiting, is promote independence and daily living skills. It's huge.
Yes.
And that can look like self-help care, or self-care, sorry. Skills such as like toothbrushing, dressing, mealtime routines are important, because we also want to promote independence.
And I think when you're thinking about that, kind of being smart with when you do that. I know like a lot of families, when they come for an evaluation, I ask them like, can they put on their socks and shoes? And the mom's like, I don't know, I just do it because it's easier.
Right,
and
right.
that makes sense. But say like try doing it on the weekend where you have more time. Don't try to, okay, put on your socks and shoes. Well, everyone's trying to get ready to go to school.
Right.
Like that's the time to help. But then seeing other times when you have that flexibility, if you can build those skills there.
And breaking it down, like even on the weekend, right? If it's really frustrating, challenging for the child to put on their socks and their shoes, maybe all they have to do is you do the socks, you put on a shoe, and they have to do the last shoe before having to go outside or whatever it may be.
Or they just do the Velcro, or
Right.
you open them and they stick
Exactly.
their feet in. Like that's totally fine.
Same with brushing teeth. Maybe you give it to them in the beginning and let them play around with it, and then you brush it for them, making it so there's not a lot of pressure on completing the task for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Right. And also encouraging, their ability to make choices. Because, encouraging their ability to make choices does promote independence. And also it helps create motivation because they feel like they have some type of control over the situation.
Yes, absolutely.
So additional in regards to working with families who are waiting on the wait list, another thing to work on or consider is those positive behavior supports. So we know like with positive behavior supports, it's based on reinforcing desired behaviors that we want to see and decreasing those challenging behaviors, right? We want to use proactive strategies to prevent meltdowns. So for example, if we know that, Charlie does not if we know that Charlie does not like sitting next to Shawnee, I'm just going to make up a name, in the classroom or at home, for example, what a proactive strategy might be is to assign a seat where Charlie sits away from that individual.
I think teaching like unexpecteds, like pre-teaching unexpecteds too, like when something's going to be different about the day, making sure that they know that something's going to be different because unexpecteds can be hard and kind of lead to the meltdowns. Or if you're taking a different route somewhere and that could throw them off, like we have to go this way, there's construction, things like that.
I also think too it's okay to kind of, depending on the skill and obviously being more judicious about it, but thinking about the outcomes versus the reasons. Like I know sometimes when you have a kid that might be, say, physical with another child, like being like, oh, that's not nice, we don't want to do that, that hurts their feelings, versus like, oh, we keep our hands to ourselves. And then as they get older, you can then backtrack and have those things. But if you really want them to be more kind of like, the, safe hands, gentle hands, like that's more the outcome versus like, oh, we don't want to hurt someone else's feelings kind of thing.
Absolutely. And also, looking at exploring community resources is something else. And we talked about that earlier, about looking at, like what you said, Meg, about like support groups, also like those autism organizations. Some other community resources are early intervention or school-based services, because a lot of times, like they may have like a birth to 3 service while you're waiting for services, or they might have, the school might also offer a program. So, definitely take advantage of those resources as well. Any other community resources that you guys can think of?
I think you can look for like sensory friendly or kind of like more open things. I know that sometimes they'll have like, quieter movies, or sometimes they have like community settings where they open up for different hours, or like a library will do like a social group or something. So there are resources that are available in your community if you can look for them.
I think guest speakers too come around a lot, like, to schools or, even if it's like a virtual, to just kind of like provide information on how to support your kids.
And then also looking at like those recreational programs or adaptive activities for children with special needs, for example, may also be beneficial as well. And then again, those additional therapies to help support specific symptoms, such as what we talked about earlier, like the occupational therapy, speech therapy, and then what you said, Meg, social skills group. So also exploring those additional therapies while you're waiting on the wait list as well. So the next area to look at while you're waiting for services on the wait list, looking at self-care. Self-care is huge, and you want to, try to manage the stress and avoid burnout. And, as a parent or caregiver, I always say be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself, and understand that, perfection is not always realistic. every little step of improvement is progress, and we celebrate small wins. Any other self-care tips for parents or caregivers?
Well, I think usually when you are on a wait list, right, like maybe it's because your child was just recently diagnosed. So I think finding some support groups of other parents that are going through something similar, that are maybe have just been diagnosed, or maybe they are more of an experienced autism mom. So, listening from their perspective to try to, calm some of those nerves and make you feel a little bit better. Because I'm sure, instantly, as a mom, I would be the same way. You instantly blame yourself, right? So just really taking care of yourself and finding support so that way some of those feelings can be worked out.
Yeah, because the best people to kind of understand what you're going through are people that are also understanding what you're going through.
Right.
Yeah. I've found like blogs are really helpful too.
Yeah.
So, when you have those tough days, like reading a blog from a mom that was like, oh, this is the worst day, it's like you don't feel so bad for being so mad.
Right.
And also kind of like teaching you to celebrate those small wins, like as little as they possibly could be, it's still like so big in like the autism mom world.
Right,
you know?
Absolutely.
And it's nice to see like the same enjoyments in other people.
Right, and I think it's just helpful to feel that like you aren't alone. Like other people have experienced it and are there to help.
Community.
It really is.
Right. So the next area to kind of think about while waiting for services is how families or caregivers can prepare for ABA services in the meantime. So I always say keeping those documentation or assessments organized, because the ABA provider or the BCBA that comes in and does the evaluation is really going to want to look at those different assessments to get a picture of the whole child, to kind of see like what therapies that child might be receiving, what are some presenting concerns, also hearing from you, what you've been experiencing, so that you can also be part of that progress or that process.
I think too, like if the child's able to be involved in their own goal setting too, like what's meaningful to them might be completely different than what's meaningful to parents, like sorting the silverware, to kind of help out at home. And for a child, it might be, tying their shoes is more meaningful because their friends can do it. So things like that.
I also think to what you said, Alicia, about having your schedule set, like if you're looking to get like childcare or daycare or something, having those processes kind of like set in place so that when you go to do the ABA process, you are saying, this is my kid's schedule, so then they can kind of work around it, versus trying to get ABA and daycare like kind of scheduled at the same time can be really hard.
Absolutely. So in closure, are there any key takeaways from our discussion today for families that are waiting on a wait list? I know one off the top of my head is that even though your child is on a wait list, it is okay to utilize other supports or therapies while you're waiting, and it's okay to apply to more than one wait list. Any other key takeaways that you guys can think of?
Don't give up hope.
Yeah,
and always communicate, keep the school in the loop. You never know what resources are provided where, so.
Right, they might have no other companies, and it's okay too if you're on a wait list at a company to ask if they have or they know of other ABA companies that may have a less wait list or other resources. Like, don't hesitate to ask.
Absolutely.
And it's also okay to switch too. So if you start at one place and say you get speech or OT at one place and you're on an ABA wait list, and then you have another clinic that offers those services and they offer you ABA, you can switch. Like no provider is ever going to be upset with you that you're finding a place that gives you more support and everything all in one, under one roof.
No.
Absolutely. So in closing thought, waiting for ABA doesn't mean waiting to support your child. Every moment is an opportunity for you to build skills, strengthen relationships, and prepare for success once services begin. Thanks for tuning into this episode of CollabTalk. If you find it valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and also hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Got thoughts or questions? Drop them in our comments. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, let's keep this conversation going. To learn more about Collaborative ABA Services, check out our website at collaborativeabaservices.com, as well as check out our brand new store online with new merchandise, as well as additional social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and
TikTok.
TikTok. Until next time, see you later.
CollabTalk is a copyright of Collaborative ABA Services, making a difference in children's lives.